Hey everybody, it's Joey with Booney's Garage. So today I'm getting started on putting together, well, prepping for my next build, which is going to be a Jeep WJ. I'm using an Iron Rock off-road 4-inch lift, and it's like a complete everything all in one lift. Of course, there's nothing that's ever actually all in one, so there's going to be some things that I'm doing along the way to change things and make them a little different. But they make a really solid kit for pretty good money. You know, it's not too expensive in the realm of kits as a quality kit. It's going to be more expensive than like your rough country kits and stuff like that, but it's not astronomical. So anyway, the first thing I'm doing today is just getting some flex joints put together because I got all of my control arms and stuff with flex joint ends because they're rebuildable. They give you more articulation. So yeah, I'm working on putting together some flex joints, and that way tomorrow I can jump right on prepping my axles, which I'll take you along for that too. So Iron Rock Off-Road builds their own flex joint. So basically you get your housing, much like this, right? And then you get all of this hardware, right? Nuts and screws and stuff like that. And basically you build the joint. So I'm gonna grease this this bushing, right? And then we're gonna put it together, drop the flex ball in here, and we're gonna grease the outside of that. We'll grease the next bushing and drop that on, and then we'll put the final washer on and get it all screwed together, and you end up with a flex joint, right? And like I run in my red Jeep, in my Wrangler, I run Johnny joints, which are amazingly good quality flex joints. But I've heard good things about these Iron Rock off-road joints, and that they make a really good kit. So I wanted to give them a shot and see how they work out. So yeah, here we go. So to put these joints together, basically, you start off with the bottom washer and the first bushing, and you put 2 screws through, and then you just want to give this kind of a smear of grease. It doesn't have to be a ton. You just want to be able to keep this ball moving freely once it's in here. And then I'm going to insert that into the joint body, and we're going to let that sit there. Now I'm going to coat this ball. And again, it doesn't have to be crazy. You're not painting it, but you are just trying to make sure it gets a decent little coating of grease so that everything moves like it should. And then obviously there's a grease zerk that we're going to install at the end of building this joint. So this is just the initial install. Like obviously you should be servicing these and putting grease in them periodically, especially after wheeling it really hard and using it regularly. Move that paintbrush so you can see. So now I'm just going to drop that in there. Then we're going to paint the inside of this one. Just a smear of grease. It doesn't have to be a ton. We're going to drop that on onto the bolts, the hardware, so that everything lines up. And then here comes the fun part. You kind of have to rotate this without everything falling apart. There we go. So that you can get this other side on. There we go. Just like that. And then you'll get started with 2 of these nuts. There's one started. And make sure you don't cross thread anything. And now I just wanted to capture these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these next couple on. And as I'm putting them on, I'm going to be adding anti-seize, if I could find my anti-seize. And then I'll pull those two back out and I seize them. I just cleaned my shop, so I'm having trouble remembering where I put everything. And remember, anti-seize is awesome for keeping stuff from seizing, but it is the devil and will cover you. So don't go crazy with it. Just get enough on there to do the job you need it to do and move on. Now here comes the fun part. Backing these two small ones back off. And the reason why it's so fun is because I lost track. The reason why it's so fun is because the nuts are so close to the edge that you can't really spin them off by hand. So at this point you need a tool. Alright. Plenty, probably too much. It's okay. It'll work just fine. Alright, now last one. Plenty. Put the anti-seize away for a little bit. Alright, now I don't know if you saw my son walk in and talk to me. He was coming to get a sawhorse because he's working on repainting his computer tower. So, and yes, he took the case off. He's not just spray bombing the computer tower. But now here's a pro tip. If you, let's see if we can see. I don't know if we can. If you look closely in there, you might be able to see one of the screws. It's hard because the lighting's bad, but you can actually see one of the screws straight through this Zerk joint, right? And I'm going to turn it and see if you can see at least like the color difference inside there. You see how you can see the orange? Let's see. There we go. Okay. You see how you can see the orange? And then if you get it lined up just right, there's a screw right there. And then you see the screw, and then you move it. So you want to get them between screws before you torque everything down. That way when you put grease into there through the Zerk, it's not squoozing around that bolt, and it's going directly in. It gives you a good line directly into the joint body. All right, now they probably tell you what size these nuts are in the instructions, but 3/8 open end wrench. So you read the instructions, it helps. So 3/8 open end, and all I'm going to do right now is just snug these down because we do have to torque them to a specific inch pound. There's a torquing process. And what I'm going to do is go across the body of the joint. So I'm starting at this one at the top. Then I'm going to move to this one on the bottom, just like you were doing a 6-lug wheel, you know, when you tighten it up. I'm not getting them crazy tight, just snugging them. And we'll go up and across, down and across, over to this one, and back over to this one. All right. So now what I'm going to do is torque these down to the required torque specs. And I believe they're 35 inch-pound. No, they are not. 70 inch-pounds, then 85 inch-pounds. That's a good bit. So I'm going to have an inch-pound torque wrench that I use for gunsmithing work. So I'm just going to run it. This only goes to 70 inch-pounds. So I'm going to run it up to 70, which is the first step. And I'm going to go ahead and get all these torqued to 70 inch-pounds. And once I get all these torqued to 70 inch-pounds, then I guess I'll just go back around and give them a little and get them fully tight. There we go, 70. Now, the nice thing is once you get them snugged up, these nuts actually go below the body of the joint, and the joint body itself actually holds the nuts in place. 2, that makes it 3, a little easier anyway. 4, 5, 6. All right. So now that's all torqued down. It should be good to go. And now all we'll do is screw in this Zerk fitting, and then I'll just go back around and give them a little bit more tightening so they hit my 85 foot-pounds that they want. All right. See if I can tighten that Zerk fitting down just a little bit more. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. All right. We can go down a little bit more. That's it. Okay. So anyway, that's how you build a joint end, or IROC off-road joint end. So I've got to build like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 6 or 7 more of these. So once I get all those built, I'll come back, show you what the control arms look like, and then we'll move forward from there. Hey everybody, Joey with Booney's Garage. So yesterday I was having a little bit of issues with, I'm sorry about that, let's see, there we go. I was having a little bit of issues with my video camera I was using. I'm hoping I caught most of that video from yesterday, and then towards the end of the afternoon, I was installing the lunchbox locker in the rear. It's a Spartan locker in the rear axle at the Dana 44, and it started snowing on me, and I hate being outside in the snow, man. I really do. So I just kind of threw everything back together real quick so I can get out of the snow and keep it protected. So unfortunately, I didn't get good video of the Spartan locker install. But what I'm going to do is pull that diff cover off. There's a couple of bolts I need to tighten up and everything. So I'm going to go ahead and get in there and pull everything off. And I'll, once I get it back to the point where I need to finish that install, I'll show you where we're at and take you along. All right. Oh, let me show you my highly technical phone stand here. It's my vise clamped a piece of wood with some rubber bands on it. So that's how you're going to watch me today. Sweet. All right, guys, so I went ahead and I had to pull this carrier bracket here so that I could get access to this guy right here. It's a reverse hex, and I think it's I don't think it's an E. Is it an E8? It is an E8. Okay. All right. So it's a reverse hex E8. So I'm going to put that on, and there's just not enough room to get my ratchet in there to get that. Oh, I'm dropping stuff. So what I'm doing is just gaining myself some access so I can tighten this up properly. And then we can go ahead and tighten this down. So this holds the carrier pin in place, right? And let me get this tightened up and I'll show you kind of how this E-locker, I mean this Spartan locker works, this lunchbox locker. All right. So this pin, right, goes through the carrier, and basically your lunchbox locker just replaces your spider gears. So instead of having the spider gear here, and the one in here, and the one on the top, and the one on the bottom, this lunchbox locker takes the place of all that. And there are these little drivers, let's see, right there, that have springs under them, right? There's 4 of them, 2 on each side. When there's power supplied from the pinion, all these teeth lock up in these little pins that have springs under them, drive everything to the outside, and kind of keep the wheels locked together, just like a locker should. But whenever there's no power from the pinion, and your wheels are spinning at differential speeds, it allows these to unlock, and these teeth can ratchet along each other, right? So the teeth on this side will pop over and hit this one, then pop over and hit this one, and it allows it to unlock and you to smoothly transition. So there's really not much to it. It literally takes like 15 minutes to install, so no big deal there. Now I'm going to go get my calipers and just check this gap here and make sure my gap's good. As long as my gap's good, then everything else is good. We could button this project up and I can move on to the front axle. All right, guys, so what I've done is checked the gap, and my gap is at 146, and you can see right there 146, and the acceptable range is 145 to 170. So the gap's good. It's on the low end, but it's good. It's in what USA standard gear. I think that's who makes the Spartan locker. It's what they say is an acceptable range for this. So I'm happy with this. This is what we're going to move forward with. So I'm going to go ahead and button this up, and basically what I'm going to do is put my back cover on here. I'm not going to fill it up with oil yet, and then I'm going to change out this top piece here. This is the stock control arm mount, but since I'm going to an aftermarket control arm mount, I'm going to throw that on here, and then this rear axle will be as buttoned up as it can be until I start pulling parts off of the Jeep itself, and then we'll go ahead and move on to my front axle. New mount from Iron Rock Off-Road for the rear axle. All right, so I just spun that new axle mount on, but it is an aluminum housing. This is a Dana 44A, there's a Dana 44 HD. It is an aluminum housing, so I don't like giving the final tighten down with an impact. So I'm going to switch over to my ratchet just to tighten it up. All right, so final tighten is done on this. Let's see if there we go. Final tighten is done on this, and I haven't torqued these down. I just gave them the old German torque, the Guten Tight, and I put blue Loctite on them. The stock bolts came with blue Loctite on them, so I'm going back in with them. All right, so basically this rear axle is as done as it's going to get till I drop the other axle out. Once I drop the other axle out, the one that's under it, I have a Dana 35 under it, I'm going to be swapping over all the brake components, the speed sensor stuff, the ABS stuff. I'm going to put it all on this axle. So anyway, this axle's mostly done, so time to move on to the old Dana 30. All right, so today what we're going to be doing is replacing the hubs on this front axle, as well as the ball joints. So this axle had about 170,000 miles on it whenever I bought it. So whenever they're that high a mileage, I like to go ahead and just replace the ball joints for preventative maintenance. That's just me. Some people run them until they start getting sloppy. I like to go ahead and replace them. This axle only has one unit bearing on it. The other one's gone. Since I'm replacing one, I'm just going to go ahead and replace both. And then the axle shaft on this side, the joint, the boot is messed up, so I'm going to be going ahead and putting new axle shafts in there. And then we have a Rzepa style yoke on here. I'm going to put a conventional style yoke on it. For unit bearings, I like Timken. For ball joints and any other axle related components, I like Spicer. So that's what I'm going with here. There's my axle shafts. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So I don't have a mess on my hands, I'm going to go ahead and crack the diff cover and let that drain out. Alright, so those cotter pins proved to be more of a pain than I thought, so the other side I got out too. Now let's go ahead and remove the nuts from the bottom of the ball joints, and then we can start pulling the ball joints. Ball joint just right on the bottom of the threads, and that way it'll hold it on, keep the knuckle from dropping to the ground whenever we shock load this thing and get the knuckle to break free. So those pins are tapered down and the knuckle sits over them like this, and they're kind of a press fit, and over 170,000 miles on those axles they form a really tight bond. So what you want to do is hit on the cast part of the knuckle that goes right around the ball joint, and it shock loads it and it'll drop it loose. But if you don't have the nut on there, your knuckle's going straight to the ground. So well, I got more room to swing over here, so I'm going to start on this one. Goes. So you can also hit right here on the flat of this. If it's not working to loosen from hitting the knuckle itself, hit right there and it'll pop loose. There it goes. Now the spring bucket makes a pretty good seat just to hang your rotor off of while you work on these ball joints. I mean, not your rotor, I'm sorry, your caliper. Oh, today's not my day. Your knuckle. Alright, something else when you're going to do this, I highly recommend, it makes your life a lot easier, having a ball joint kit. I bought mine cheap off of Amazon, and it's actually a little bent up. Not truly a C anymore, but I've used this for years, and honestly, if I had to throw it away today and get a new one, it was worth what I spent on it. So yeah, I mean, this was, I want to say 35, 40 bucks on Amazon, and I've done probably 10 or 12 ball joint changes with this thing. And yeah, so totally worth it. If you do this kind of stuff a lot, this is a tool that's worth investing in. And then I just got to figure out the right setup of cups to pop these out. And this upper ball joint actually doesn't seem to be too bad, but the lowers Man, the uppers on both sides don't seem to be too bad, but the lowers are both shot, so. This is always fun. When the ball joint comes out halfway. That was a lot harder than it had to be. All right, so you can see both the lower ball joints are like this, which is why I was like, let's just change them, be done with it. So you can see it's not super fun to get ball joints out, especially if you don't have the right tools. Sorry. It's not super fun to get ball joints out, especially if you don't have the right tools, but having the right tools makes the job not too bad. All right, let me get set up. I'll press in some new ones. All right, I got everything I need here, and I like to put a little Red and Tech grease on that. Helps it slide up in a little easier. So yeah, we're just gonna pop these new ball joints back in. Pain in the butt, but you see how it's really not that hard if you have the right tools. Just getting everything lined up is the hard part. So I'll go ahead and install the other side and I'll bring you back. All right, now that we got the ball joints pressed in, we're gonna go ahead and throw the knuckles back on, get those tightened down, and then we're gonna go ahead and put the axle shafts in, then unit bearings.